back, everybody, to another episode of Porch Talk. This is episode 18. This episode is sponsored by Wyatt pole holders. If you have fishing poles that you'd like to display safely on the wall or just need a way to get them off the floor, Wyatt pole holders has what you need. Subtle Nancy has a nice selection of fishing racks to fit your needs. Pine, oak, and poplar are just some of the wood used to craft these beautiful racks. Engravings are also available upon request.
If you live in Southwest Virginia or any of the surrounding areas and find yourself looking for an equipment rental, give Cantrell Holdings Equipment Rentals a call at 276-596-3078. Check out their Facebook page and follow them to learn more about their equipment rental options, including their operator services.
Guys, we're honored and blessed to have reigning BED Player of the Year on here with us tonight, Jonah Looney from Grundy High School. How you doing, Jonah?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Good. My Tar Heels just got a win. I'm doing pretty good. Who you pulling for in college?
I don't know. Washington football and basketball, I like Arizona.
Okay.
I like Caleb Love.
Okay, I can.
Oh, heck yeah.
I support that. Man, usually we try to get like a kind of a chronological order. Not really anything structured, but just kind of go back to your young days and start from there. I guess like most kids in Buchanan County, you started out really young, especially your family being in it like they are. What's some of your youngest memories of maybe when you started and when you really knew you loved playing?
It started out on the Harmon Tigers. Me and my friends, we used to play. We played Van Sant Vikings. Jay and Bevins had a little league team in Twin Valley, and that was probably it's one of the funnest times of my life, and I really miss being a kid and playing all them teams.
Yeah, and we were going to kind of go into like the little league and stuff. And you mentioned some of the teams you played against already. Did you also do some travel ball, or was it just stuff locally?
I've never really been a big travel ball guy. I usually just do, especially back then. I played on. There's a team called the Miners that had like Grundy and Twin Valley and Hurley, and we used to go to like local tournaments. But I mean, that's about it. Usually just local stuff.
Yeah, a lot of those names you threw out in Little League are a lot of the same teams I played against in Little League. They had a few more back then when I was around. I know like the Russell Praters and can't remember who you named off for sure. Maybe I know for sure there's a couple more there, but sounds like it's basically the same thing. I think I don't know that Buchanan County has the best setup for Little League that I know of, but I know they don't have the worst. I've heard a lot of this. A lot of people I know from out of here talk about other counties' Little League programs. I think it's kind of dwindling down now, from what I understand. But I guess being at Grundy and Riverview, was that an odd transition going from like Little League to everybody coming together in one year, or is it kind of easy to figure out? How'd that go?
It was easy to figure out. I mean, we always played against each other and with each other, and we always knew who each other were. And social media growing, we can just text each other and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's good to, have all those programs eventually, like I said, to come together like that. What's the saying? Iron sharpens iron. Playing against each other like that, I think ends up paying off. Going from Little League on into like JV and stuff, was you playing a lot then? I know you're a starter now, and we know what you are now, but was you always a starter? Or did you have to work your way to get up there?
And yeah, I was always a starter, but I wasn't very good my JV and freshman year. So I wasn't the best player on the team, but I started and played most of the game my JV year.
Yeah.
Who was coaching you in JV?
Is Jory?
Jory was coaching. Okay. I couldn't remember for sure. I thought that was the case, but we know Jory well. Give us your thoughts on him as a head coach, obviously in JV, but then assistant on varsity now.
He's a great coach. He's one of the best coaches I've had, and he's a really good guy. He's very, very knowledgeable, very smart guy.
Yeah, we're actually, after we finish with their interview, he's gonna hop on here as well.
Yeah, he told me.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, we'll get some stuff from him as well. And yeah, we've known him for a while. Kmore's known him longer than I have, but he's a great guy. Going from JV into varsity, what steps did you take to prepare yourself for that? And I'm assuming just you talking about Jory, I'm sure he kind of got you ready as well. But just preparation wise, getting ready for varsity, because I know your brother, was he playing in varsity then while using JV?
I actually played my freshman year. I played with my brother. Miles was a
Okay.
senior and he was a freshman. So my brother and my dad helped me a lot with the training. But that was when COVID was going on, so I had nothing else to do. So it was very rigorous, and Dad and my brother helped me a lot.
That's what I was going to lead into, was about your brother. I figured for sure with him being, a senior or whatever, then that he knew all the tricks and a lot of the competition and tips and stuff he could help you with.
I was going to say, I think you're the first guy probably not the first one that we've had. It's the first time it's come up, I think, because it hit basketball harder than it did football, I guess. But what was that like during that COVID year, trying to navigate, figuring out how to play games and all that?
It was terrible. I remember it was like our second game, and we were playing council, and then we had one of the refs had COVID, tested positive for COVID, so we all had to go get tested. And then we had to be quarantined for 2 weeks, and then we tried to play basketball after that 2 weeks without practicing. It was crazy.
Yeah, I would say just like you mentioned, the conditioning you lose if it hits you, like just having to not sit out, and then not to mention you're getting a rhythm. I'd imagine it was a like worst case, like it's terrible situation as far as basketball goes, which is as you know, is a game of getting to a rhythm. You start playing some games. If you sit out a long time, man, that can get you back, like get you a little rusty. That had to be terrible, but
Yeah, it was rough for sure. But I was lucky to have, my dad and my brother. We can still work out because we have a goal outside, and we can still, stay in shape. But not everybody else has the resources to do that.
yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like in your case it paid off. I mean, I think it probably took you to another level, and some others may have took it as a way to stay at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it definitely paid off for some. Just playing varsity and stuff. What was it like going out there in the court for the first time playing varsity opposed to everything you'd done before that?
It was a difficult transition. I mean, the one thing that was most difficult to adapt to was how fast it was, and and just the physicality of the difference between JV and varsity. You're not playing against sophomores; you're playing against men as a freshman. So you're playing against 19-year-olds. So it's a lot more physical and a lot faster.
Yeah, you mentioned your brother already. I'd say that had to be a helpful, like you said, a resource there where you could, going against him being older, bigger and stuff, had to be a good, kind of get you ready for it anyway, know what to expect. So to have that, but to also have, your dad who's a coach, you can kind of lean on that and run things by, any time. But what's that like playing for your dad? I mean, I've heard both ways of this from people. It's some people loved it, some people would have rather not have, but I think it's just kind of what both the parent and the kid make it if you have a good situation or not. Like if both are willing to just kind of, I don't know what the word would be, not really look past what that is, but not be kind of make it a player coach here and then a father son, off the court. I think, but how's it working for you all?
I like it. I mean, he holds me accountable during practice too. He treats me just like any of the other players. So, and when we're home, he just treats me like his son. So,
Yeah, I've heard the state of a lot of people will complain. You hear parents complain about when a coach coaches his own kid, they're being too easy on them. But from the people I know, it's always the opposite, that they're harder on their kid than they are, other players, which I guess if you're going to be one, that's probably the way to be. But like you said, and when you get home, you said, he does a good job of making sure it's that. So it's got to be really good. And I'd say by this point he's used to it after coaching your brother. It's not his first rodeo.
No.
Yeah. And just talking about some of the success you had in varsity. I mean, last year you was BDD Player of the Year, and I also want to get into the playoffs and big moment you had there. But just speaking on winning that award then and your whole season, your junior year, what was that like for you to be named BDD Player of the Year?
It was awesome. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it without my guards and Caleb and Landon. I mean, they dished it out to me. I mean, they helped me a lot, but it was awesome to be named BD Player of the Year.
I'm sure. I think your brother won the award. I'm almost certain he did at least once. I can't think of another brother combo, at least in recent memory, to pull that off. So that's if at least for nobody else, that's a cool feather in your dad's cap right there.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about that moment you had in the playoffs. I did want to ask you about the buzzer beater you had against Lebanon last year in the Region 1D quarterfinals. I read the article today, and last year, everybody had heard about it and saw the clips and stuff like that. But just speak on that a little bit, that moment for you and what it meant for you and the school.
It was a crazy moment. I mean, it meant a lot to me. It's kind of what, it's a dream come true. I mean, a lot of little kids' dream is having something like that happen. And to happen to me, it was very special. And the funny story is the play was not designed to go like that at all. It was supposed to be like a law play to Caleb, and he was supposed to catch it and score a layup, but he caught it, and he's like close his phone out of bounds. So my man flipped over to him, and I was almost hoping for a layup, so I would relocate to the wing, and I just threw up a prayer, and it went in.
Wow.
It's one of the coolest shots. I don't know. Just the way the angle and everything. It was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
I'll give you chill bumps just thinking about it, just hearing about it.
Yeah.
Well, so last year you all were in a loaded single A region. A lot of talent everywhere. I mean, very good region. This year, I mean, compared to last year, not as I guess difficult as previous years, but still a good region. You all, I would think you all are probably one of the, definitely top four, maybe even higher than that. As far as favored to make it to that region semi game. So, your thoughts moving forward? I know you can't, you got to look one game at a time, but I know it's got to be one of y'all's goals is to, get back to at least get back to the region semis and give yourself a chance at that.
Yeah, it's definitely a big goal for us to get back to the state. Cause my brother did it in his junior year, and ever since that happened, it's been just a big goal. And we're just going to have to, like you said, take it one game at a time. But we also got to be prepared for that moment too.
And I know the season's just getting going and stuff, but you've already had a big moment this year, scoring your 1,000th point. So, what did that mean to you to get 1,000?
It was awesome. It's always been a goal of mine ever since my brother he scored 1,000, and it's probably been a goal of mine since I watched Bud McCoy score his 1,000 points, and to do it on my birthday and at home is very special.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know it was your birthday. Yeah, that's even better. Yeah.
It's a good day for
birthday
it.
present.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of like Bud McCoy, Grundy's had some very good players over the years, even going back well before long. I mean, I can't remember I know there was several. The year I was 8th grade, I know they had a really good big guy. I can't remember his name now, but even going back to the end, I know well before then they were good. But a long line of good players down there, and I don't know where the talking heads would want to rank you, all time and stuff, but you've definitely been a good one, man. Y'all have had a good run, and when I'm looking forward to seeing how far y'all can make it this year. I think y'all got a good team. You have good guards. You have, obviously a good, good post play. Y'all have all the ingredients to have a good team. So I think y'all have a real good chance of making a run there late in the year.
And I was also going to speak on, you just mentioned some of the guys from Grundy before, and I mean, we all know football wise with Grundy what they had, back in the day, and even recently as well, and the community rallies around them. But I think they rally around you guys too with the basketball team, with the success you all had and with Bub. So I just want to ask you a little bit about the community, what you feel or how you feel about that and the support you've received.
And they're very supportive community, and they all love us. They all show up to the basketball games and they cheer and they're loud, and it's just there's a great people and great community.
One question we've been asking started late after we've done a couple interviews, but pre-game, either on the bus ride to the game or in the locker room before the game, what's on your iPod? What are you listening to?
On the bus ride, it's I listen to Zach Bryan. I listen to country music on the ride, but in the locker room before the game, I listen to a lot of Kanye West. So I listen to Stronger, Monster, all of them Kanye West songs.
That's a interesting combination, Zach Bryan and Kanye West. I don't know if we're going to top that one. We've had so far some Metallica, so
I feel like you're on it. I feel like you got a good one. Like you're on it on the bus trip. That just seems like a real mellow, relaxing. Gets you just not up or down too much. Just. I'm not gonna say that I'd have Kanye on, but I can I respect it. I like some old Kanye, so I get it.
Yeah. Definitely two different genres.
Yeah,
for sure.
We just got a few more questions for you. Let you go. I did want to ask you about recruiting. Have you got any offers or any interest so far?
I've had some interest from some D3 schools, Roanoke, Bridgewater, Franklin, and some other schools. But I got it in basketball and football too. So I don't know. I have to make a decision still.
Good problem to have right there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and we didn't because we were still relatively early in all this, and we did a few player reviews during football season. I hate we didn't get to have more, and I don't want to dive too big into football, but between the two, because you just said you have a tough decision, so that tells me that you probably love football probably just as much.
Yeah, I love football. I like it just as much as I like basketball, probably. Yeah, it holds a special place in my heart.
I mean, you had a good year there, and on your team, y'all made it to the playoffs again. So I think that y'all were pretty impressive there as well. You go ahead, Mar. Sorry.
I'm good, man.
Well, I was going to ask.
18 minutes in, I didn't want to keep him real long. So,
I did just want to ask you two quick things real quick before you went off here. I did want to ask you about the matchup tomorrow night, because I know you all had played Holston once this year already, which y'all won the first time around. Kind of what you're looking forward to tomorrow night in that game.
Just playing again. We've had a long break, and I'm looking forward to getting back on the court. But we've made some changes, and I'm looking forward to seeing how those changes turn out.
I did think of a question. I can ask him real quick.
Go ahead, Tommy. I got one more.
I know when I played, you didn't. If you're going from Virginia to Kentucky, you had to play 8 people pretty much. Is it? I know saying y'all played somebody, I think Belfry or somebody in Kentucky the other night. Is it still like that going down there?
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't want to blame everything on the rest. But we against Belfry, we didn't have the best game, but I still think they have a little bit of a factor in it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want you to say too much, just in case some random Kentucky official sees this podcast. I'll say it for you, because I've been going to West Virginia or Kentucky and playing. you don't get any calls ever. It's terrible. But I always thought it was worse going to Kentucky during basketball season and West Virginia during football season. But I always noticed that you didn't get. I don't want to say that anybody would go out of their way to do something, but you didn't get anything easy. That's for sure.
Well, I was going to ask you one more thing, and we ask everybody this that we've had on so far, and this will be the last question. We'll let you out of here. Just motivation-wise, what do you carry with you on the football field, on the basketball court? Just something that you carry close to you when you're out there playing.
I just always remember that my time is coming to an end of high school sports, and to just cherish every moment and just give it your all when you have it. And that's what I tell a lot of the underclassmen too, is that, time flies. And before you know it, you're going to be playing your last basketball game or your last football game, and you're going to be looking back.
Couldn't say it any better myself. That's what we were talking about a little bit during football season is if I could give any advice to anybody, it'd be just somehow try to take in every little thing you can. Don't like little small, even small things. You know what I mean? Just try to remember it all, man. But you said it better than I could.
And just to echo what you said, you can tell just by talking to you, you're a great leader, you're a very talented player, and I'm sure Jamar agrees. We're very thankful to have you on. And I do want to wish you the best tomorrow night and going forward during the season.
Who you all play tomorrow night? Holston. Where's it at? I mean, it's at Holston. Yeah, I can't make that one, but
there'll be more.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you again for coming on, and we'll get you out of here. That way you can go to bed.
Thanks, man.
All right, man. That was as a first player interview of basketball season, and it was awesome. Every time we do this, I'm always instantly reminded of why we do it. If that makes sense. I don't mean that to sound cheesy, but it kind of gives you a bit of motivation. I love talking to these kids.
Yeah. Every time we do one, I feel older.
Heck, I do. And I'm not even.
And every time we do one, I really think back and realize there's no way I could have been that cool as all the ones that we have are under, like with the camera on me, and answering those questions like that. I think it would have been a lot harder for me to do something like that.
Yeah, and just kind of echo what you just said. I could never do it. I mean, I don't think that if you would have talked to me a few years ago that I'd be even comfortable coming on one of these things. I get to where now I talk to a lot of people at work and stuff like that. So, I mean, it works out. But, yeah, I definitely couldn't in high school. And everyone that we've had, like, they've been so calm, composed, and which everyone we've had also have been very talented players. So I'm sure they've gotten their share.
They've done some
practice with questions and stuff.
They've done some interviews.
Yeah, but I think we also offer a little bit of a different type of interview than probably what some other places do.
Yeah, I hope so. That was the plan. I mean, that's what I said. We said before. Like I said, I'd like to be able to do that and actually be a thing that when these players, if they hear from us, they're like, "Oh, that's cool. I was hoping I could get to do that." Like that's what I eventually will hopefully we turn into is like a cool thing for them, knowing it's something they, I don't want to say strive to do, but like when they get that invite or something, they're to look forward to it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. And
who's this guy?
Who's this guy?
Hey, what's up? What's
up? So for those of you that are watching, which we're not live, but when you do watch this, you already know that Jory Rife has joined the chat, and we've already been talking about you a little bit, Jory.
I hope it's decent things at least.
Oh, it always is, that.
Yeah.
We didn't start, talking about your Bulldogs or anything like that, so it was all good.
Yeah.
So, but no, we just had Jonah on. and I don't have to tell you this, great kid. We were really impressed by him, just how composed he was. You can tell by just talking to him, the leader he is. And so we want you on here to talk a little about him, the team in general, and then we might even hit on some other teams locally that I'm sure you probably have an insight on that we don't.
Yeah. Like you said, Jonah, he's top notch, top of the line, man. Composure has been a huge thing within our program the last 2 years. Kind of stealing out of Kirby Smart's playbook. We even made like little composure cards and everything.
Awesome.
That way anybody can challenge each other's composure. And we try to preach that with a few other core values of our program. But like you have already discovered, Jonah's a top-notch kid, hard worker, good parents. Obviously, Coach Looney, with the success with him, his brother, he's just a top-notch kid, good leader on our program. And we're fortunate, to have 2 other seniors on this team that are 4-year starters, and it really helps with our experience. I feel like that's something that we have, which some other programs around the area have as well, is we have experience with our kids. Landon Johnson, Jeremiah's probably familiar with him and his family. Landon, he's just a passionate kid. I mean, he gets after it in practice, gets after it in games. Sometimes he gets after a little too much. You got to calm him down. But you like that in a kid, that fire and everything. And last, is Caleb Conaway of those 3 seniors that are 4-year starters. Caleb's had a bumpy road his whole career at the varsity level, at least. He's a good JV player, but he got injured there his sophomore year with his shoulder. He re-injured his junior year early in the year. He got to come back, but he wasn't 100%. So this has been really his first time 100%. So I'm very excited to see him play, and he's the name you can look forward to from us that could lead the way on night to night. And then from you all covering so much football in the area, you already know the name Logan Lester. He's a firecracker. The kid has a wide open motor all the time, hustling, doing anything you ask. You want to run through a brick wall kind of kid. He's battling a little bit of recovery from some sickness, but he's going to be back to 100% before long. And then some other new things with us this year is I feel like our 3-point shooting has finally improved a little more. We've always shot the 3-ball decently, and with this generation of basketball, you've got to be able to shoot the 3-ball. I mean, if you don't, teams are just going to pack it in on you. It's going to be harder. 3-ball stretches the floor, open up driving lanes, and open up gaps and post up opportunities. But with Keyston Hartford and Ethan McClanahan coming up from JV, I feel like those 2 kids are high-level shooters, and not just high-level shooters, but they are workaholics. They are always in the gym, always trying to work on the craft, always getting shots up. So I feel that really helps us where we've been kind of deficient the past couple of years. So it should help us a lot. And then finally, we have a 6'5" Italian exchange student this year that I feel if he catches up to the speed of the game over here, that he really could help us defensively and offensively. I mean, he's an athletic kid. He jumps pretty well. He's a rim protector for sure, but he's got a little catching up to do. But he should be good to go. Hopefully toward the end of January. But go ahead, Cameron. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say. So, how do you say his name? Because I was going to try that, and this podcast I have butchered so many names. So
don't make him try, Jory. Don't do it.
Yeah, no, I'm not giving you a free pass, Cameron. You have to try. You got to try.
Man. I mean, I can probably get the first name. Let me see if I can. See, I didn't even. I seen the name. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put it back down. I'm not even gonna try that on there. So is it? So it can't be just David. So is it David E? David. The crazy thing about this, when I butchered this, is I'm part Italian. So I feel like that my heritage
like Barbados
was going to get. Yeah, I'm going to get disowned. Yeah.
Come on, John. No, that's a good thing about the kid is we've called him so many names that he's just glad we don't call him nothing bad. So we've called him David, we called him Davide, we called him Davide, we called him Davi, we called him Big D, we've called him everything. He's even responded to "Hey You" a couple of times. So I mean, he's a lighthearted kid, and he just goes with the flow. His last name, Cameron. I'm with you. I'm not going to try.
Yeah,
I believe it's Davide Alere, but I'm not 100% on that. He's actually my neighbor, so I feel ashamed that I can't pronounce his name fully right.
I'm just gonna go with David. I think that's a safe bet.
He'd be fine with that. He'd be fine with that.
Come on, Davey. Is what we'll call him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you spoke on a lot of it already. You know, a lot of the guys you all have, and I know so far during the year, you know, there's been some ups and downs so far, but for the most part, I think that y'all came out hot with 2 huge wins, and then y'all had a few that were, I think, back and forth. That Ridgeview game was a little close. You know, in Lebanon, they got a good squad over there too. I think that game, you know, they just won the Powell Valley won the other day against Honaker, so it kind of speaks to what they are this year as well. But I think that y'all had some success early on, and you're going and playing teams like Belfry and different zip codes and stuff. That has to give you some good experience going forward.
Oh, 100%. Coach Looney and myself, early in the year, we were kind of deciding, you know, what do we want to do with our schedule? Do we believe we have a team that can make a run in the postseason? However far that run may be, we don't know. So what would be the best thing for us? Would playing in a couple of holiday tournaments help us, or would kind of stacking our schedule with some tougher competition, maybe traveling to a Belfry, maybe traveling to a Pike Central, adding Ridgeview back on our schedule, you know, would that help us more than going and playing at a tournament? And we decided that, you know, when you go to these tournaments, you're giving up home games. So we wanted more home games as well as playing these tougher teams. So I think it will pay dividends in the end. I'm sure not everybody enjoys losing some of those games, but, you know, we keep trying to keep the focus on, would we rather lose in December or do we want to lose in February and March? So that's a huge focus. We'll take our licks right now and hopefully improve as January goes along. Because playing against these teams, especially those Kentucky teams, I mean, I've said it to a few of my friends. I ain't told it to anybody on the team or anything, but going and playing in Kentucky, and Jeremiah can probably speak to that as well, going back in our playing days, it's just different down there. I mean, we share athletes a whole lot up here in our area. Down there, it is, you know, basketball 24/7, or they're playing football 24/7. And what I've been saying is, you know, we love basketball and everything. We're a year-round program, but down there, we're just pedestrians walking around. I mean, they're the ones that are always in the gym, really hitting it year-round, a lot more than, you know, we have the luxury to do, because, you know, as soon as basketball season's over, athletes got to go run track, athletes got to go play baseball and things like that, and they're just year-round. So playing those Kentucky teams, I think, really is going to help us as we move on into district play and move on into the postseason play and everything. And we also kind of spread it out a little bit too. That way we're not just playing Pike Central and Belfry in December and then not touching anybody at that caliber. Pike Central is actually our last game of the season, and then Belfry is 2 weeks from now in the middle of district play. So we're trying to, you know, spread around playing district games and playing some really tough opponents as we go through the season too.
Yeah, we had the Kentucky conversation, but it was a little different than what you were talking about. I was mentioning more about how you have to go beat 8 people. But you're right about what you said. You know, Kentucky basketball is like a whole obsessive thing, and it is more. I feel like there are a lot more specialists down there as far as that goes, where you just play basketball, or you just play another sport. But I was asking Jonah about. He had a very good answer. He didn't really go into it, but I told him I would say it for him. But you don't go to Kentucky during basketball season, and you don't go to West Virginia during football season without having to really, really work for it, because you don't get any calls at all.
Yeah, I won't go too far into it. I'll just say,
I would say,
if
you don't
want to
say
go
anything,
get it,
you don't say anything either.
Yeah, I ain't gonna go into that.
I'll take care of it for you, unless it's changed since 2006. It's exactly what I just said it was. So, well, who knows? It might change. I don't know, but we'll not put you in a compromising position here.
Well, it's
some games coming
up. It's kind of like going to play in in the rain sometimes, or playing in the snow. You just kind of have to battle the other things in the game. I mean, you have to learn to deal with it. So
yeah, and I'm sure those teams come to Virginia and probably have their own opinion of us as well.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but I know it's bad.
that's a personal vendetta here on this pod. J. Moore in Kentucky.
I mean, I've never seen nothing like it when I played. It was. We went to West Virginia during basketball season, and it was fine, which is really weird because I feel like it was a really well officiated game. Went to Kentucky. I don't think I played football in Kentucky, but I've been helping with Tommy, and it didn't go. It wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad. But if you're in West Virginia in football, you're gonna get it. And then when I played, we went to I think it was Eastridge, and it was a long night, and it wasn't anything the players were doing. Let me tell you.
Well, something I was going to ask you locally. I mean, I know that we're only, I don't know, probably dwindling down the last few years of having all these schools in Buchanan County. And I ain't going to necessarily ask you anything about the consolidation, but I'm going to ask you about local teams, just you looking at it from a coaching point of view, some of the competition you got locally. What are some teams you're watching out for?
Oh, yeah. I try to watch as many local teams as I can just to, see what everybody's doing, see if there's anything they're doing that, maybe we should look at trying to do as well. There's some really good teams, I think, locally. If we want to go 2A, you have Graham, Lebanon, as we've always mentioned. Lebanon's a fun team to watch. Anytime they step on the floor, it's going to be fun to watch that game. Virginia High is very good, and that's just the Southwest District. The Mountain 7, Ridgeview, Y Central, Gate City's making a lot of noise. A lot of very talented basketball players in 2D in their area. And then as far as single A, in Region D, you're going to have Honaker. Honaker's very skilled. Coach Hart does a great job getting those kids ready to play. And when they play, they're wide open. I mean, they give it everything. They're pressuring you, forcing you to make bad decisions. And it's a huge thing to stay composed against them because they're so good at what they do. And then they add, a player like Keaton Keene to that, to that core roster with somebody that's already been on here, like Parker Bandy, like Aiden Lowe. Those kids, I mean, how they are in the football field, they get after it just as hard on the basketball floor too. So Honaker's definitely, they're the favorite in Region 1D right now, and they're a favorite for a reason. I mean, they've went toe to toe with Lebanon, beat them once, lost, last week in the tournament. The other teams too, Chilhowie, they're playing pretty high level basketball right now. They went down in Tennessee and beat Westridge. So the Hogo has some really good teams in it. And then over in the Cumberland, something I've learned the past couple of years is you don't count out Coach Dameron in the Eastside. He gets his teams prepared. They play hard. They play fast. And then he's very innovative in what he does. And I think that always helps his teams out. And, I mean, he's just a good basketball coach. I got nothing but respect for Coach Dameron over there at Eastside. And then, as far as the BDD. We're a little down this year. You have us, but also, Hurley's putting up some points right now. They play some pretty decent basketball. So you got a lot of good teams in 1D. I think Honaker is probably the favorite. Chilhowie right there with them. And then I think it's just, you're going to have to prove it. If you can beat those teams, we're going to have to prove it. If it's going to be us, if it's going to be somebody else, you're going to have to prove it. And then outside of our region, looking at just this half of the state, I'm sure both of you have seen Facebook, seen message boards. It's George Wythe. They are a bunch of shooters, and they play defense. Even though that 90-point game maybe didn't look like it, but they do play defense. They shoot the rock at a high level. They're going to be a tough team to beat. And then also in 1C, you have Auburn, Coach Milliron. His teams are always very good there. His youngest son's on that team. They went back and forth a couple of times last year with George Wythe, and George Wythe beat him to go play Lancaster. And then Narrows is playing some very good basketball right now as well. Then I don't know if y'all want me to go this far, but even as far as Lancaster, they're returning the state player of the year in the Henderson kid, and seeing the kid actually play a couple of times over the summer, he's everything they advertise about him. He was doing some warm ups saying, I don't know if the kid missed. I mean, he's a top notch player. They're a very well coached team as well. So you're always going to have the Alta Vistas to talk about on that side of the state. You're going to have the Charles Cities. You're going to have, a few other teams out that way. So there's a lot of very good teams that are around the state. But again, I think right now, just because of the level they're playing, George Wythe is probably the favorite. I mean, they're playing insanely high level basketball.
Yeah, I mean, that Arby's game, the first game was wild in of itself, but then to keep it close even in the second game was crazy. I mean, that's not taking anything away from George Wythe. It's just you look at the history of the Arby's. I think I read somewhere that, and I may be wrong on this, but I saw somewhere on X that they were the second team out of Southwest Virginia Single A to make it into the second round, Council being the other. Y'all might correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what they said on there. So, pretty impressive.
I don't know what they consider Southwest Virginia, but that's probably right.
Yeah. So, very impressive.
That's what I read too, Cameron.
Yeah. Very impressive.
See, was it? Well, maybe did Gate City not finish sixth one year with?
Well, Double A, right? Oh no, they were Single A back then. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, they weren't. Not when.
Yeah.
When Mac, they were.
I don't.
Yeah, not with Mac. They were 2A.
Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah, never mind. That makes sense. Then yeah.
Well, they lost first round of that one, didn't they? Because we were at it. They played North Mecklenburg.
Oh, they may have lost. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, you can't. People think Arby's and think of like really good like players and athletes and size and all this stuff. George Wythe, the way they play, they negate any kind of size thing. Not any kind, because you can be really good, but they make you play a certain way no matter what you want to do. Like, and that's what when I watch them in Arby's, like it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to impose what they want to do on you, and you're going to play like that, or you're going to have a hard time. Even get like you can't slow it down. And they just so happened in the mentor game, I guess the 90 to whatever 95, 96 game. Both those teams are pretty good defensive teams. I think there were so many possessions in that game because both styles are so similar. I'd say if you look at it, I'd say they really did defend pretty well for the most of them. But when you have that amount of volume of shots and possessions, you're going to have some points scored. So, but yeah, they're a very good team. I know that would be. that's going to be a tough out for anybody from Region D going through there. I don't care if you're got loaded with size. I don't care how your team's built. That's a that's a tough task getting by that.
Yeah, they're going to be tough to beat. And talk with a few folks like that have seen them play. What you said is exactly what I've heard from other people as well. They bait you into playing their style.
Yeah.
And you can honestly see how, after watching them, how the kids, your kids or whoever's playing them would, fall for that bait. Here they, make a couple of threes. It's, 12-2, make a couple more. It's 20-6, 20-9. And all of a sudden you're like, oh gosh, we got to fire up threes as well. Or because if we don't, we're going to get blown out quick. So you can easily see how you could fall in to that trap of wanting to play their style. And then the other part is their defense is going to also pressure you to have to take bad shots, to have to take these shots off the dribble. You're not going to get anything easy against them.
Yeah.
So that just adds to them forcing what they want to do on you.
The ones I watched, it almost seemed like it wasn't like an all up in your face press for the most part. What I watched of them, but it's a very consistent enough pressure to hurry you up and get you to play fast enough to make you think you're taking a good shot. But when you go back on film and watch, you're really not taking that. You're not taking the shots you want. But during the game and the flow of it, it probably feels like you are taking decent shots. But really what it is it's a first one you get, or or it's something like that. Like you're hurrying, you're out of your comfort zone most of the time, unless you play a team like Mentor Ohio, who that's how they want to play also. But most teams around here don't want to do that pace for that amount of time. And George Wythe has the bench to bring in, and it's like not much of a drop off when they sub 3 out. You don't really lose, So yeah, like you said, you kind of get hurried up when you don't really realize it. And I think the most impressive part of it is like I said, you if you're a team against them, until you go back and look at the film, I feel like you probably think you're probably taking good shots. But really, you're taking a good shot, but you don't want it to be your first option, really. You know what I mean? Like you want to pass it around and get that shot, you'd be happy with it. But when you're coming down and that's what you're getting, it's probably not the shot you want. But yeah, but I mean, anybody can be beat, man. That's what I think it's crazy. Like they're on a cold night or something, or a team has a big guy or anything happens, they could be beat, but it's going to be a tall task for whoever has to play them out of the region.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough ask for anybody to do. And then even the one that's going to have to play Auburn, that also is going to be a pretty tough task with just how well coached and how experienced their team is. But I think there's a few teams in our region that will go give it the best they can. We'll try to prepare the best they can. And like you said, Jamar, I mean, any given night, you never know, and that's all we got to do. You just got to be better for one night.
Yeah.
One thing I want to do, kind of take you down through memory lane a little bit, because I just thought of this while we were talking. We don't have probably so many more years of the BD being what it is. And I think that even having both of you here, maybe I'm curious BDD-wise in basketball, because y'all played at such a high level and y'all had so much success when you played. What are some memories from the BDD that you all had? Because I'd like to maybe ask coaches and stuff going forward if we have people from the BDD to kind of ask, as we are in probably the last so many years of it. It don't matter who, but
us playing or just in general memories from like watching back in the day, or
either one. I mean, whatever you all want to. I mean, I'm curious, because I know when I was going through it, there was some good basketball and stuff, but obviously when you all played, it was different. So
I'll let Jory go ahead. I'll go after you.
Well, first, when Jeremiah played, I sat. So I didn't get to play until Jeremiah graduated.
yeah.
No, I think my very first BDD memory was probably over at Hurley when, I don't know what grade you were in then, Jeremiah, but when, we upset Council. That was like my very first memory. And I was like, yeah, I can't wait to be on the floor. I can't wait to be in this position. So that's one of my very first memories that really made me commit to wanting to play basketball. Made me really want to, be at Twin Valley and keep building on what we were trying to build at that time. And then, even before that, thinking of my dad taking me over to council on a random Tuesday night to watch Brad Knuckles. That was a huge thing, back when I was a little kid. And there's just so many things. I think of the games at Sand Lick, playing Hayside, and they're shooting outside of their minds over there. And you'll play them anywhere else, and they're not going to shoot as good as they do at Sand Lick. But you better be ready for a fight over there, because they construct that thing there. I think into the Honaker games, how much rivalry was there. I think back to this was after I was gone, but the Twin Valley and Hurley games at the late 2000s. I think of those. There's just a lot of good games at like my time as a kid going through high school that I'm going to miss, and there's going to be games even outside of basketball I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss seeing football games played over at the Cliff. I mean, anybody that's played football over there, especially if it's a rainy, messy time and it's a mud pit over there, that was some of the most fun I ever had playing football, was playing at the Cliff. So I'm going to miss stuff like that once this consolidation happens.
Yeah, go ahead, Cam. Sorry.
No, I was just going to bounce it to you.
I'm kind of like Jory said. I remember I grew up watching my Uncle Jeff play at Garden, and just it was high level then. And I can't remember who in the district was like with them at that point. I just remember it being they were really good. They were shot at the buzzer away from beating the Twin Spring team that won state in the region that year. So they were tough, and that's how I got grew up watching them, and then going to watching other Garden teams and following PJ Bailey, and speaking of Landon, but LD, his uncle, LD Johnson, and that group at Garden playing was a good group to watch. Man, they were fun to watch. I guess that was the first group besides my Uncle Jeff that I remember really watching, and like being like I was old enough to really remember like get into it a lot. That was the first real group I remember. But then Dad, taking me to watch Neil and them play at council, and Dad was a huge Neil fan, like because he drove a truck over that way where Neil lived, and he'd always talked about how there'd be snow on the ground and stuff when he'd be driving, and look out, and Neil'd have his basketball court shoveled off. He'd be out shooting every day. It's like you hear these legends of these stories about these legends in the district, and then you got Brad comes along and you get to go watch him play. And then I think that my JV year, I know we played in the JV championship game, but I want to think that was before the girls and boys played. I think it was before the girls season started. Same time, it was still in the fall, I think. And I think we played right before the it might have been right before the varsity championship game. They might have had I don't know why they would have had a third, fourth place game though in the district back in, because only two teams went to,
right,
unless they had it on the semifinal night maybe or something. Maybe that's what it was. But I know Brad and them was playing that year in that building that we were playing in. And it was full for our JV game. People were already getting there. So that was kind of wild, playing in that game and knowing like it being really full and it being kind of weird. It's a JV game, but nobody's there to see you play other than the few of your family and friends that are packed in. But that was really a really cool thing. I just know the BDD was always like, that's what the LPD was in football, was what the BDD was in basketball for the longest time. Like that was the district. If you got out of the Black Diamond district, you had a really good chance to win the region. And it wasn't even a question. Like it was probably the best district around as far as single A overall. I mean, it was stacked every year. It's how it was. Obviously, like everything else, each year it's the drop down with, I think, numbers obviously has a lot to do with that. But yeah, my memories are more about watching and other teams play, than playing. I mean, I guess it's hard when you're in it to see it. I guess, like from my perspective of playing, I guess I don't see it like some people do. Me and Logan kind of talked about that this weekend. But that game Jory's talking about, that was kind of that kind of kicked everything off for us. It was my sophomore year, and we finished 4th in the district that year, I think, regular season. Either tied for 3rd or 4th, or lost a coin toss is why we were 4th, or maybe we just finished outright 4th. But played everybody tough. It looked like we were getting destroyed. Probably some double-digit losses in there, I'm sure, but nothing embarrassing. I mean, it was not like we weren't competing with people. And Council has still had James, Brad's little brother James, which to call him his little brother is kind of funny because James is huge, but he still played. Kent was a freshman, a sophomore. They had I can't remember, the Graham kid maybe was still there. They had some players still there, and they were very good. And we upset them in the district tournament. That was kind of the first win for Twin Valley in a district sense, I guess. That really catapulted us, I think, into the next season. That's what the one Jory was talking about. So I remember that one probably more than any other, but had a lot of good games, man. It was played against a lot of good players. But yeah, that's probably a long-winded answer, but
that's what I was hoping for. I mean, I like hearing it from both of you because, I think, there was, like Jory mentioned, even when I was in high school at Twin Valley and Hurley, there were some good battles between them. The Coopers, and they were out there and they had a great team, and so there was some heated stuff going on then. So the BED was still competitive, but when y'all were playing, and even like you mentioned, even prior to you, the BED in general just had so much talent in it, and it was just it was a little different then. And so I like hearing stories from you all, and I know that we have people even older that are going to come on here, and I'm looking forward to hearing those stories as well. Something that I know me and Jim already talked about already in a previous podcast, but I'll ask you, Jory. We do want to acknowledge that Coach Moore got his 300th win not long ago. So we both wanted to ask you what you thought about Coach Moore, just playing wise, and then even maybe some help he may have gave you coaching wise. I'm not sure.
Some funny stories if you got them.
That you could tell on.
Embarrassing. It doesn't matter to us. We don't care. Whatever you want to say, go ahead.
No, the first thing I thought of was Hank King's daddy yelling at him, "Go back to Oneacre."
Yeah. Hey, boy, go back to Oneacre.
That
was
more. He's something. He's a very special friend of mine. I have a lot of respect for Coach Moore. I feel like he's gave me a lot of guidance, just not only as a player or as a coach, but just as a person in general. Just either talking about our faith or talking about the direction of how we want to witness to these young kids that we're lucky to be around. He's gave me a lot of very good advice. I trust him dearly. That was one of the first things I done was, reach out to him as soon as that game was over to congratulate him. I think his best advice to me has always been, and I share this with our players as well. And I go back to being a sophomore on that 06 team, and I'm not playing any, and rightfully so. And Coach Moore just talked to a few of us underclassmen, was like, "You all just need to pay your dues. Your time will come. just keep practicing hard, keep making your teammates better, keep pouring in, and you'll get out what you put into it. And he was right. I mean, we got to have a couple more successful seasons after 06. 06 was really our first, chance on the big stage in Richmond. That was built off of those teams before us, and his advice of pay your dues really stuck with me. I feel like that helped me when I joined the military and realizing I'm back to nothing. I had to work my way up, and I just kept thinking about that. Just pay your dues. Just pay your dues. I look at my coaching career so far. I've been paying my dues as far as my coaching career, and then work wise, you pay your dues work wise to get that promotion and keep going. And that's something I like to tell our kids, because you can just see on their body language sometimes they may be upset they didn't get to play enough, maybe they didn't get enough shots, or whatever it may be. And I feel like that message you can send to that player and it resonates with them, and all of a sudden they understand what they're doing, and they're more willing and receptive of that type of approach to their situation, because your time will come. You just got to keep working hard, doing what you need to do, and just keep paying those dues. So I feel like that's one of the best pieces of advice Moore gave me, other than yelling at us in the basement of Virginia High, telling us that basketball was his life.
I forgot about. I heard that story before. I completely forgot about that one. That's a good one too.
Yeah,
I'm glad you said that, because I forgot all about that. I wasn't there, but I heard about it from several different people, and I laugh every time I think about it. I forgot.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Moore stories, because there's a bunch. The tearing his tie off, the Iceman. There's a bunch, but for me, just because I was front row and center for that speech, and as I told Travis Byers to ask him when Moore went on his podcast, he made me feel bad, because he's like, y'all are going to go out and eat somewhere nice and play video games and enjoy your time with your girlfriend. I'm going to be miserable and everything. I was like, I'm going to Olive Garden with my girlfriend after this, and it will feel pretty terrible, but I'm going to eat every bit of this.
That's awesome.
Oh, man. He's a good dude. I think the world of him. I feel like he was the right person. Looking back, I feel like he was the right person to come into my life to help me athletically, and then academically. I feel like he was that right mentor I needed to help me along the path to go. And then he's also somebody you can always just randomly message, and he may not message you back right away, but he'll respond to you as soon as he can. And usually what he has to say is something you probably need to hear.
And I love that advice that you brought up, because I feel like that, what it tells me, and I'm younger, but I like that's getting passed down, because now he is still a teacher and leader of young men and women, but you are too. So that pay your dues thing is traveling on down through generations, and it's something that I feel like some places they don't have that. I mean, you look at it in college right now. The pay your dues thing, that's not what is going on in sports right now, at least on that stage. And we have different opinions, I'm sure, maybe not on here, but out there, that whole transfer and all that stuff. And sometimes it's a good thing, but just speaking on that, the pay your dues thing, a lot of people don't do that anymore. And I'm glad that it's getting passed on to some of these younger kids, that they kind of get that instilled in them to, hey, let's work hard to gain that position. Or it may not come this year, but it's like work hard this off season, and next year I'm going to take that next jump. And I like hearing that.
Yeah, and I can give an example, and I've always said I want to brag on this kid when I get a chance to, and he's a JV player, but I started preaching that to this group of sophomores that we have coming through a couple years ago when they're eighth graders on JV. They're all true eighth graders. They're playing freshmen and holdback sophomores or whatever it may be. They were struggling a little bit, and I had some younger kids that hadn't hit puberty or anything like that yet. And I started kind of using that message of pay your dues, and I kind of challenged some of them. During the off season, you need to come to open gyms, you need to go to the weight room, you need to work out. And then, we help them along the way of what they need to do on their own versus what they need to do when they come to open gym. And this one kid who's a sophomore now, he's lost over 50 pounds. He started every game for me last year as a freshman. He's one of the better players on JV now. But that is just, I think an example. And I love, bragging on kids that work like that and get rewarded for that. But that's just an example of a kid paid his dues. He set the bench a whole lot as an eighth grader, and then he saw what he needed to do. He buckled down. He did it. He lost the weight. He got faster. He, become a better shooter, become a better ball handler, become a better defender. And, now he rarely comes off the floor on our JV team. But I feel like, that's a prime example. And that's just one of the many kids that I feel we're blessed to have within our program is kids that will take what you tell them and they're self-motivated. They're going to go do it themselves. Although I will say we do have an advantage of having the YMCA, 10 feet from the school that, not everybody has. So they're able to do that a little bit on their own.
Have you, while you've been coaching, have you given the This Is My Life speech to a team yet?
No, I believe that's going to be one speech I let Moore hold the keys to be the gatekeeper of that speech.
Yeah.
I can see I can see you getting into it and just kind of not even meaning to kind of say it and just have this out of body experience, and you look back and you're like, I can't believe I'm actually saying this right now, but here it is.
I've had some close Moore calls, to be honest. The kids try to joke that I broke a clipboard, but I didn't break it. I stepped on it and it broke. So
you stomp on it? Was it?
No.
A stomp?
No, I got this bad habit of putting it right under my seat, and I'd use my shoe and pull it out. And when I done that, it broke. But they tried to say that I broke it on the bench, being mad. But that's simply a lie, and that's not true.
Fake news.
But that's some. But I've had some close Moore calls, but I haven't gone all the way to This Is My Life.
That's awesome.
Let us know if you ever get to it.
I'll let you know. I'll tell myself if it comes to that point.
If you do, we'll start having the whole team on here, and we'll get their perspective too.
Yeah. Although there's a few of them that would probably tell you that I've got a little too fired up or forward up in the locker room. May have lost my voice a time or two.
That's okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, I ain't gonna keep you up any longer. We appreciate you coming on here. I know for me anyway, I think it's so cool. I mean, you was coaching even when we were all hanging out years ago. But I can remember us sitting in there. I think it may have been at your house, might have been at Logan's house. I can't remember. Me and you just sitting there talking for probably hours about your plans of what you was going to do coaching wise, and just the passion you had for it. And so I'm very proud of you and happy that you're at the position you are. And I think you're just starting. I mean, I think going forward, I don't know if it's in your plans, but I could see you coaching varsity here one day, head coaching, and who knows what's going to come up. But I'm happy for you, and I'm very happy that you came on here and talked to us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Honored to even be asked to come on. And as far as coaching wise, we'll just see wherever the Lord decides my path needs to go. But right now, I'm happy where I am. I don't think I need to be anywhere else. I could probably go on another story about that, of how Coach Looney convinced me to come. But I tell you, that first day opening the door to 26 kids in the gym is pretty convincing.
Yeah.
And but I just feel like I got led to the right place to be, and I'm happy where I am. But again, appreciate you guys having me on. Appreciate you guys hosting Jonah tonight too. And if you ever need anything, just holler. Hopefully we can get together in person again. I know we've kind of all slacked off on that the past couple of years, but life came at us all pretty fast in the last 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact.
Yep.
That's a fact. Well, Maury, you got anything for us?
So we appreciate it, and good luck y'all the rest of this year, man. And we'll hopefully get to see y'all play in the postseason and make a good run at it, man. We're looking forward to it, and good luck. And we appreciate you, buddy.
All right, thank you guys. Y'all have a good night.
You too, buddy.
Oh, that story. I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
That cracks me up, man. Every time I hear about it.
Yeah. I wasn't even really planning on, I just randomly thought of that, and I was like, wait a minute, the BDD is something that's passionate. It's something that's close to us, and probably more so for you because of, it was a dogfight in the BDD. It was, I guess, when we were going through, but it was a dogfight when you all was going through, because that team, like you mentioned, was probably going to go and play in the state tournament. So it meant so much then. I'm talking about the winner of the BDD at the time, that when you all was playing. I'm just talking about the importance.
When we upset Council that year?
Yeah, I was just saying the importance of the BDD in of itself, that I was thinking about it, and I was like, when you all played and stuff, it was such a big deal, the BDD was, and you compared it to the LPD. So it's like, I thought, and I was like, this is a rare, I don't say rare, but it's a good opportunity when we start having these coaches and stuff on from that district. Why not ask them about their memories and stuff of the BDD? Because we're coming down to the end of it. Here, who knows when? I've heard it for years now, but I just thought it'd be something cool on the spot. Just kind of thought of.
I can't remember if it was a Coach Goodman quote, and then I heard Coach Cooper say, like Ricky used to say, or if it was a Coach Mark Cooper's quote, and then I heard Coach Goodman say like that. He heard it from him say it. But one of the other, I heard the story of it. Like they said it best one time was when you got out of the district going to region, it was almost like, okay, the hard part's over. Now let's go play region. Because the hardest part was getting out of the district to get to the region tournament. So for a long time, that's how it was. It was a very, very, very competitive district for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that, it's definitely going to be bittersweet with it coming to an end. But I like hearing stories and stuff from you all, from Jory, and I'm sure coaches going forward. It kind of, the district might be dying, but in a way it kind of lives on through all those stories that you all tell. And I'm sure we're going to have more stories when we get some of these special guest episodes rolling and stuff like that. Well, we'll hop into some. I think me and you talked about this. We might not get into every single team locally, but we definitely want to.
Especially not now, so later than what we planned, I think. But
yeah, and I feel like that we obviously have had a lot of content an hour in, which is great. I've really enjoyed everything so far.
Let me ask, are we going to be able to do this again this week, or what's your plans?
Don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'll talk to you about it and stuff. If I do get another one in, I would almost want to squeeze in maybe like a special guest or something.
Okay,
but we got to say,
because if not, we can hold off on this till that. But we can go ahead and try to knock a few of these out.
What I was gonna say is that, I figured that I was going to throw out here the Powell Valley National Bank Holiday Classic, just some of the results of it, and then just talking briefly about the championship game, because I feel like that's locally that's probably the biggest news, not counting the Arby's, and then you also have the Doc Maples. But other than that, as far as your week-to-week games, I figured we'd wait on that till next week, because
we can hit some high spots. Because honestly, like I said before, you can read about games in the paper and look at stats, but I don't like to. I would rather be able to try to watch as many teams as I can before I really speak on them, because stats are misleading sometimes, and I don't know. I think true measure of you got to watch teams play to really get a knowledge of them. So we can hit some high spots here tonight if you want to, and then hopefully I can do more research on watch some games online and try to get to some games between now and the next time, and get some eyeballs on some of these teams a little more, and maybe it'll be a little more in depth about what we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's fine with me. We'll just not waste any time. I'll jump into it. Wyatt already mentioned the Powell Valley National Bank Holiday Classic was in West Virginia. I'll just briefly go through some of the scores, and then we'll talk about that championship game, which was a classic from everything that I've seen. So you had Lee beating Eastside 55-49, and then you had Rye Cove falling to Central 76-36. Ridgeview fell to Lebanon 89-62, and Chilhowee beat J.I. Burton 67-39 to close out the first round of the Holiday Classic. And then in the second round, Honaker had a bye, if you want to call it that. They played in the second round against Lee, and they won 64-37. And then you also had Virginia High fell to Central 47-49. Shelby Valley fell to Lebanon 79-60. And then Union beat Chilhowee 73-42. Then the final four you had in that, you had Honaker beating Central 69-64. And you had Lebanon beating Union 65-54. And that brought us to the championship game of that.
I was going to say, I got some stats from that semifinal game if you want to hear a few of them.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I think, I don't know if it's Keaton. I'm not sure how you say that kid, but the King kid from Honaker.
Yeah.
29 against when they played Central, and this game went into overtime. He had 29 points, 8 rebounds. Aiden Lowe had 16 points for Honaker. Ethan Collins for Central had 33 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists. Landon Horn had 16, or London Horn, I think it's an O. Sorry about that. I think London Horn had 16 points. That was in the first semifinal game, went to overtime. The next semifinal game, Lebanon Union went to overtime. Andy Lambert for Lebanon had 20 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds. Reese had 14 points and 9 rebounds. For Union, Cam Bostic led the way with 24 points. Then you go ahead and get into next night if you want to.
Yeah, I think that you've seen it all over the internet, if you've kept up with any at all, the Lebanon and Honaker game the other night, which is a huge game for this area. I think they had already played once in the regular season, and that's been mentioned. I think Jory maybe mentioned it, that Honaker had pulled away, and then this time around, Lebanon managed to pull away with a victory, very close victory, 58-57. Game went into overtime, and Michael Reese ended up hitting a buzzer beater right there at the end to pull away. And Reese, we've talked about on football season. If anybody that's listening to this, that followed us during football, we brought his name up quite a bit. Maybe not in terms of Lebanon's success, but more as an individual star in this area. And it seems like he's doing work on the basketball court as well. This game kind of ended pretty crazy. Keaton Keene, he missed 2 free throws with 5.8 seconds, and Reese got the rebound, went coast to coast, and then put it up at the buzzer to win.
Well, Keene made a 3 to send it into overtime.
Yeah,
apparently.
Yep.
Which is ironic that he just, I don't know. There's so much going on here with the Lebanon Honaker back and forth. The this one come from here and this one come here. It's just, but it is what it is. Like I said, Reese finished with 23 points and 10 rebounds. I think the quote in the paper is Coach Boyd called him Mr. Energy. So I mean, obviously athlete, just but pretty good basketball player. He was a tournament MVP for this tournament. He averaged 16.5 points a game and 11.5 rebounds a game during the 3 days. Andy Lambert also had 14 points for Lebanon. He was an all-tournament team. Caden Boyd also had 12 points and 5 assists. Brady West also made the all-tournament team for Lebanon. Honecker, Keene had 23 points, 9 rebounds, all-tournament team selection for Honecker. Bandy finished with 12 points. Peyton Music was elected to the all-tournament team. Neither team in this game led by more than 7 at any time. Had 10 ties and 16 lead changes. So it's going to be, I feel like every time they play, I don't know if they play, I'm assuming they play at least one more time this year, but it's going to be if they get to, every time they get to meet each other this year, it'll be a fun game. So,
I think that I'd imagine they played at Lebanon the first time. I don't know if they're doing like a home and away between the two, but
you would think so, but
yeah. I mean, if they are, we definitely, if we can, might need to catch that one. I think that would be a good game to catch if schedules align. I'm trying to sit here and look.
Ironically enough, Central and Union in the 3rd and 4th place game also went into overtime. Semifinal night, you had both of the games went in overtime, and then championship night and the 3rd and 4th place game, you had both games going overtime. So something in the water over there at the UVOIs that night. Apparently, the people just wanted to play extra minutes, I guess. But that's
well, they end up playing again January 24th, and I'm not sure if that game. I think it might be at Honecker or at I think it's at Honecker. So we might have to, if schedules line up right and stuff. I'd like to go over there to see that one. Two of the best teams I think locally right now.
Yeah. Central in that 3rd place game beat Union, I think, right, 54-49, if I'm not mistaken. Landon Horn,
Union.
Central beat Union in the
Central
consolation game, the 3rd and 4th place game.
Oh I didn't have it written down. Yeah.
London Horn. I keep saying Landon. I think it's London. Is a 9th grader for Central. 16 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. Ethan Collins had 9 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists, and both of those made the all-tournament team. Union, Rayshawn Anderson, 16 points, 10 rebounds. Cam Bostic, 13 points. Both also made the all-tournament team. That 2A is, to me, 2A's boys are, if Lebanon plays, which Graham, George mentioned Graham. I'm not saying Graham, so maybe Graham. But if Lebanon plays well, I think they're the favorite for sure that I've seen so far. Other than I've not seen Graham. I think Union at the end of the year is going to be pretty good. They have a very good coach that towards the end of the season they're going to be right there. I think. Central could make. I think they're young, maybe, and I think it's kind of wide open after Lebanon and Graham right now, though. From what I could tell, maybe a Gate City in there somewhere with that kid that's playing well out there for them.
Yeah.
So you never know, but it's. I don't think you have just an outright obvious choice right now. Like I said, I think there's some favorites, but it's gonna be fun to watch this year. Kind of the same way in single A. I think Honecker's a favorite, but I could see a few of these teams getting better and better as the year goes along, and it being interesting. But should be fun to keep up with this year.
Yeah, something I wanted to mention before we went on to varsity girls real quick, because you're talking about local teams. I just wanted to give them a nod, and Jory had already brought it up. But Chilhowie, they had a big win before this tournament had started over at Westridge, and I thought that was worth mentioning. They were down in that game, down 37-24, and they went on a tear. Ended up scoring 11 of 13 straight possessions, catching back up to where it's 49-47. And then they went back and forth, ended up going into overtime. And I'm not going to get into all the, details of it. But Nash for Chilhowie ended up hitting 6 of 6 from the floor, 3 from 3 beyond the arc, and scored 17. And I think he ended up being the leading scorer for the Warriors there. But I thought it was worth mentioning. Coach Snodgrass over there had a good win against that team. And from everything that I've read, Westridge is a pretty respected school over there. So for him to go over there and get that win, I think that would be good for their program going forward. I'm not sure where they line up, with Honaker and them, but I think getting a win like that at least proves to them that, hey, on any given night we might end up rolling in there and coming away with a win. So I just want to give them a nod.
I'm pretty sure Westridge is that new school, right? The one that's the Sullivan County schools consolidated and made right beside the interstate on your way to like Pigeon Forge, Knoxville. Not well before you get that far, obviously, but it's when you're going towards that way, towards Johnson City.
Well, that's what I was going to say is when you go by it, I mean, I've went by it. I'm not went into it, of course, but when you go by it, you can see it. It's a real nice school, nice facility. The football field's real nice. Yeah. And in the article, which I didn't have this part saved, but Coach Snodgrass talked quite a bit about the facilities and stuff over there, and I think it was good for those kids to go over and get that experience from everything that I've seen and read. So that's a good win for them. I just want to kind of shout them out.
I'm going to throw this score out there. I don't know what date this took place on, but Hurley and Castlewood had a barn burner last week or week before last. But Hurley 92, Castlewood 80. Did you see that score?
I did. I think that was it must have been recently because I had seen it. I didn't get the stats for it. But
Landon Lane from Hurley had 29 points. It was
Landon Lane. That sounds familiar, don't it? I think that was
I am saying it right.
Quarterback's name.
Am I saying that right?
No, I think you are. I just think it sounds funny too because we said Landon Lane all football season for Wright Cove.
Probably what it is. It was 21-4 after the first quarter. It didn't get much better at halftime. Third quarter wasn't a whole lot better, but Castlewood scored 38 points in the fourth quarter to pull it back within 12. Each team ended up hitting 9 threes. Like I said, Lane had 29 points. Eddie Hurley from Hurley had 25 points. Caden Dishman had 32 points. And the way the paper talked, he's pretty well just dropping 30-point games left and right. So he could probably be a fun one to go watch if you're in the Castlewood area. But I just wanted to throw that out there. That's a lot of points for a high school game. A whole lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Which makes the George Wythe Mentor Ohio game, it seemed kind of crazy that 95, 96, but you just don't see that very much. You see 90s by high school teams pretty often, but not both teams in 90s. That was a fun game to watch, man. It really was. It was.
I was at work that day. I didn't. I would have loved to have seen it, even streamed it or anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was sick as a dog, but I bought the thing, and so I watched it on the huddle or whatever you could do when you do get the Arby's package thing. I went back and watched it. It was a very entertaining game to watch.
Well, I was actually looking it up as we were talking, but one of the kids they had ended up scoring 40 points, right, during that Mercer game. Or not Mercer, but Mentor game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think so. He was he went off. He might be their best all-around offensive player, I guess. But they don't really have anybody that jumps out as this their by far their best player. They're all very, very good, and it's like a. But I guess he's probably one of the best ones. Especially that game, it's got hot and. but just being in the right place at the right time, a lot of it, on the fast breaks or, points off turnovers thing was a lot of them. But they're just a very good team. They don't have any real weak spots the way they play in that. So they'll be fun to keep up with. Yeah. And bring them off the bench, just sub quite a bit. But
do you see some of the stuff about the South Shore coach?
I read some of it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's not a good situation. I don't think.
He's not very happy.
Yeah, I didn't. That's one of the games I hadn't watched yet. So after I heard about it, I was going to go back and watch it. But
it was. I don't know. I don't want to. I was just going to say it was Reed Kurtner. Was the kid's name from George Wythe that had 40 points in that game, 15 and 21 shooting, 8 to 12 3-pointers.
Yeah. I don't want to say make a judgment call either way.
No.
Especially
I just
the way they're writing it and talking about it, the way that subject matter. I don't want to jump to any kind of conclusions either way. So, something I wasn't there. I don't know. So, I won't speak to it, but just not a good look for anybody. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and I was kind of, I guess, opening my mouth without really having anything to say after the fact. Just noticing the attention it's got, kind of like what yours. I mean, I don't know. I've not seen the game, but it's everywhere. People are talking about it.
When I say not a good look for anybody, I don't mean not a good look for that coach. I mean, it's not a good look for him, not a good look for the tournament, not a good look for the refs. That anytime that kind of conversation gets brought up, it's just not really a good thing. Whether it's justified as a conversation or not, just the fact that it's out there is being talked about is not what you want the tournament. Well, not what you want to talk about when you think about the tournament. So hopefully it's nothing to it other than just a bad day for everybody. But yeah, not a good situation.
Well, do you want to just briefly go over the Doc Maples, just more or less highlighting the local teams that we did have in that?
A little bit about it. I don't, like I said, I didn't get a lot wrote down, but I know East Side, I think, finished third. Or no?
I think that's what I read too. Yeah,
maybe East Side finished third. Third or fifth or something like that, fourth. But they had a good showing. Talked to Mark about it a little bit. They the Knox Catholic had a ridiculously good team. That they got a girl that's going somewhere Division I. I can't remember. Maybe Elon or maybe I can't remember. But she's very good. Tennessee High also has a very good team. Have a really good freshman that if keeps progressing could be like legit at Tennessee High. Honecker, I'm pretty sure won their first round game. Maybe it's Volunteer, or maybe Volunteer was their.
I think it was the second. I think I got Tennessee High. I think was the first.
Okay, so they lost Tennessee High in the first round. Then I think they beat Sullivan East and Volunteer. Maybe I can't remember.
Yeah, they did
for sure. But yeah, they had a good showing too. I mean, that's tough competition out there. So just to come away with 2 wins out of the 3 is a good thing. I think McNulty had a really good game, one of those games. But still, they're kind of, any of them could step up any night and, be a leading scorer. They don't have a predominant, this girl's our best, scorer. Like any one of those on the court could score for them. I know, let's see. I don't think anybody else locally playing that one. I don't think it did they? Eastside and Honecker.
Yeah, I was thinking we had. Give me 1 second. I think we had.
I know while you're looking that up, I know that Wyatt Central had I'm not sure what they placed or how it went for sure at a tournament in I think Gatlinburg maybe or somewhere like that. In a real good tournament, also had a lot of good teams in it. And they did really well apparently, and looked really good. I know one game, the Looney girl that transferred from Grundy, and then McCamus girl both had 28 points apiece, which is really impressive to have that many points apiece by two players. I think another night, I think McCamus is just a sophomore, maybe a sophomore or junior.
Wow.
And I know she's got her results not ready. I can't remember. I mean, she might be a junior this year. I can't remember, but she's really good too. So she's one name to watch. It's going to be over next year, however old she is, maybe another year after that. But see where she ends up. Eastside has a very good shooter. I can't remember her last name. I really should be able to remember it, but I can't right off the top of my head. Hammond, I think maybe. But lights out, man, can absolutely put it in the bucket. And they have a good freshman over there too. That Jory mentioned, Coach Dameron at Eastside, the coach's boys. It's his daughter. She has a bright future ahead of her. She's a very good freshman, and they got a good solid team for single A. That's going to be them and Honaker, and I don't know. I'm not seeing enough yet. Like I said, from Burton from last year, I know it was good. But that's going to be a very, very interesting tight race there in the region in 1D in the girls.
Yeah, I was thinking. You mentioned Burton. I was thinking that I saw something. We follow a few sports photographers and stuff like that on our Facebook, and there was one, I think, from out there Union Way, that was talking about maybe Burton's girls being down by quite a bit and having a great comeback here, maybe like a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt I can even find it here on the spot, but if I do find it, is worth mentioning. I think it was quite an impressive comeback that that I was kind of like, whoa, you don't see that very often. But it seems, I mean, you mentioned them. Something they seem to have a pretty decent team over there, and I think that I would have liked to have, and I don't know if you got to talk to Mark any about the environment there, but I know you had mentioned they're trying to get the Doc Maples to be kind of what the Arby's is, maybe eventually, and maybe girls basketball.
I think it. I didn't. The way I thought it might be a newer tournament, but I think it might. I think it might be around for a while now. I'm not sure. We'll have to do more research on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what their kind of idea is to get it to be a high level. Eventually, maybe bring what they want to, be able to bring teams in. But
yeah,
it's obviously harder draw like that with women's basketball, because the men's, you're pulling teams in from all across the country, so it'd be a little bit harder to do that with and build that up like the men's is, but it's possible. I've heard the best thing I heard. I can't remember who it was said it, but if you want to see, all you care about is dunks and stuff like that, just pure athleticism and all that stuff, men's is what to watch. But if you want to see the purest form of execution and having to do stuff like that and having to execute and having to make, X's and those type things, you obviously still have athletes and good players, but like at the, sometimes, like, I guess especially in college, sometimes the athleticism of stuff makes up for maybe a lack of a good drawn up play. You know what I mean? But if you want to, I just always heard that from somebody, some quote, the way I'm butchering it, but women can't go up and throw a lob for a dunk most of the time. So you have to execute a play. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that to that extent, saying. Yeah, I'm butchering how he said it, but so if you want to like watching basketball like that, sometimes some of these games are good to watch. I'm gonna get crucified by one of my friends for saying that, but I like basketball enough where I like watching a good women's game, man. It's there's a lot of good aspects to it. You know what I mean? Now, granted, you know what you're not gonna get a lot of certain things that you're gonna get watching a men's game, but there's a lot of positives to watching it.
Yeah. Just because I had mentioned it a few minutes ago, the J.I. Burton game that I was talking about, they were down 28-8 after the first quarter, but came back and won. So, I mean, it's still impressive.
Who are they
Not quite
playing?
what I had. They were playing Pike Central. They ended up coming back and beating them in overtime. So I think it was overtime. Yeah, in overtime. So they ended up beating them 80-71. So I thought that was pretty impressive. Whenever I remembered it, I don't know why I remembered it being even larger than that, but still, nevertheless, that's 28-8 after the first quarter.
Yeah.
Get on a few runs and they came back. So,
well, I guess it kind of wraps it up for this week, don't it? I'm gonna have to.
yeah, I mean, yeah, all the sports, local and stuff like that. I don't. I know that you need to go to bed and stuff like that. I did want to like throw out our top 5.
Go ahead and do that.
Well, I was going to say, because we're not going to get into it, but I know we're not going to get another one this week. So I don't want to miss the opportunity to at least address. I'm not going to talk about them, but I just want to address to all of our Alabama fans out there. I will first say that during the middle of the season, if not first half of the season, everybody was against Bama. And I had made even comments on Facebook that can be pulled back to this day that I had said they were going to win the SEC. So I'm not necessarily a Bama hater when I say this, but we were right. I wasn't exactly right because they didn't win by 2 touchdowns, but all the hate that we received on Facebook, which is still mind-blowing because we're still getting comments. Well, maybe not now, but we were still getting them as of last week, and it had been a month ago. And we had talked about it previously in the podcast. We had over 200 or 300 comments from people that never even met before. And I guess, like I said, we were called crackheads, and people said, we're going to save the receipts. Well, they said, let's listen to these guys after the game. And
yeah, let me tell you who was very mad and had stuff typed out last night and was ready to absolutely just comment, was my wife. I think she took it more personal that the stuff that was being said about us than I did. And I think I kind of talked her out of it.
Yeah. Huh? She didn't see it till last night?
No, she's seen it.
Oh, okay. But she's going to go back. Okay.
Yeah. As soon as Michigan won, she was like, all right, I'm going to go comment. And we were just laying there and she's like, I'm going to say something. And I was like, no, you're not. Don't. Just. And a few minutes later, she'd say, well, I'm gonna say something back, like whatever. I'm like, just I think it bothered her, like trying to take up for us probably more than just I thought was funny, but yeah, I was like, just don't acknowledge that stuff because you never know which one you make the wrong one mad, they're gonna come find us. But
yeah, well, I just wanted
it was really fun. I would love. I wish it's one of those situations where you could just be like a fly on the wall for some of them, and when they just to watch them when Alabama got beat, just to see the reaction. Because if they were that mad of saying it, imagine what they were like. They're not.
It'd been wild. I mean, I was like jumping off the walls because I had them to win by 4 or more, and it was weird because they were up 17-13. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to get this because if Michigan scores, it's going to be a 3-point game, not 4. And then, Alabama got the 3, made it 20-13, gave Michigan the opportunity to get 7 to make it 20-20. Overtime ended up being 27-20. So gave me, I won on that. So which was it was a wild sequence there for me on that. But nevertheless, I still want Michigan to win regardless.
Yeah.
And it's not even that I'm a huge Michigan fan or a huge Alabama fan. I don't really say I'm probably favor either one more than the other. It's just the attention we received of a few of those clips. It's made me want. Yeah, of course, I wanted Michigan to win at that point.
And you know what? Let me go ahead and say it.
Yeah,
I took it for Florida State. I said they should have been in, not because I thought they had a better chance at winning them games than who got in, but because I thought even if they were going to get killed, they earned the right to get killed. That was my whole argument. Now I took up for a lot of these, now I'm seeing this online and a lot of stuff, people commenting. It's hard for me to be supportive and hold that stance when now I hear these Florida State fans saying, Well, look, this one had better numbers against Bama or against whatever than this one did, and Florida State would have been able to do that, and that's what they, they didn't deserve it. Like, look, they got beat, so they didn't deserve being. They went into overtime. Like, you can't get more deserving to be in a game than taking a team that's ranked 1 and you're 4 and you're going to take them to overtime. You know what I mean? And the other game was 37-31. It's not like either of them got killed. So you can't use the argument that they don't deserve it just because they got beat, because that's, first of all, it's just stupid. It's just you're being petty.
Yeah.
But, like, so many people comparing notes to this one, doing this one. And I've read this on several Facebook posts. And I'm not mad about it. Like, people, I get why they're mad, because they're Florida State fans. But, like,
well,
I don't want to hear that whole thing about Florida State would have. What was the example I was talking about? Somebody had. What was it? Oh, no, what was it? Hang on. I can't remember now how it went. There was a certain thing thinking that this one would play. I don't know. Florida State never had a chance of beating Michigan without their quarterback. You can argue whether or not all you want until they're blue in the face, whether they should have been in or shouldn't have been. It's irrelevant at this point. But to say Alabama didn't deserve to be in there because they got beaten overtime is crazy. Like, don't go too far crazy that I can't support. You know what I mean? Like, you're starting to make me not want to support my Florida State take. So that's just, people need to slow down a little bit.
Well, and me and Rusty was talking about it on the way back. Georgia might have been, if you just want to look at it, strip everything off as far as what's fair, they might have been a top 3 or 4 team, well, 4. I mean, because I would probably say Bama, Michigan, Washington, and Georgia was probably the 4 best teams. But now you have to look at resumes, and because that stuff does matter. It does. But I will say,
who would you say? Well, we're going to have an argument now.
Well, I mean, you obviously, because Washington beat Texas, so you got to have them in the top many. You got to have Alabama. I'm not talking about who should have made it. I'm just saying now, after the fact, after we saw results.
You still said Bama, though?
Playing that close with Michigan, I would probably say, Georgia would have probably been, you would have had 5
Michigan,
for sure.
Michigan missed an extra point, a field goal, and the special teams played awful. If Michigan's special teams doesn't play bad, you might have got your 2 touchdown thing.
Yeah, it could have been worse. I agree with that. I would have those 5. Like, I would have Texas, Georgia, Washington, Alabama, and Michigan. Those are the 5 best, regardless. I know there's 4 in the playoff, but just speaking on as far as talent goes, I think those are the 5 best. With that being said, I don't know that Georgia is a 60-point spread better team than what Florida State is when the whole team's there. Could they still beat them by 20 or so? Yeah, they probably could, or 30 even. But you had 30 players that opted out for Florida State.
Yeah, it's not even the same. Yeah.
Well, Kirby Smart even said it. He said, college football needs to figure out what they're going to do because this is not fair to them. And I think, in a way, I don't know that he even really, I don't say appreciated, but I don't think he really enjoyed the win that much.
No, he couldn't have.
See when he talked about it. Yeah.
He couldn't have. And I think that's one reason, like, he probably didn't want to play that game because they had everything to lose in that game. Because if you come out and unless you do what they did, even if you win by 20 or 25, you're still going to get talked about that because it shouldn't, it should be worse. Like, Georgia was in a lose-lose situation unless they did exactly how they did that. And then even then they don't really gain nothing from it. It's just you don't get talked about for not being, for not beating somebody bad enough. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's over with. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I would never try to tell somebody they're wrong when it's an opinion thing because there ain't no fact. There's no fact in this. There's no right or wrong answer. Is the way I look at it. Like, you have an opinion, and I get that, but the whole thing that bothered me is you can't. I respect your opinion until it starts being kind of absurd. And you're just saying things because you're still mad and you're hurt. That's when I'm like, okay, you can be mad, but let's not try to make rational arguments with irrational thoughts here, because it don't make any sense what you're saying. I can't get behind that. So I'm just glad it's all over with. So I'm moving on, having a good national championship. I think it's gonna be a great game. Yeah. So
yeah, and I will say, I'm not. I guess some of those people that would be on these clips thinking we're Michigan fans or whatever, they'd probably really like me saying this, but it's kind of like a thing I'm not throwing out there yet. But I really love Michigan's uniforms. I don't know what it is.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Dude, I was watching that last night. There's something nostalgic about it, and especially the shoulder, like the end patch, like the throwback thing they did, and seeing them. I mean, the Rose Bowl, I agree with Kirk Herbstreit. He said, I think it was today or yesterday, that they should just put that as a national championship every year.
Yeah,
I love that game.
If you could pluck the Rose Bowl out of the location and move it every year, I get it. But nobody wants it in California every year. That's not the way to do it. So
yeah, I get that part.
People who have private jets and can fly where they want could, of course they want it somewhere like that every year. Yeah. Your average person doesn't want that like somewhere like that every year. Mm-hmm. I get what he's saying though. It is a majestic, like beautiful, just the whole grand pageantry of it. Like it's very, very nice. I get what he's saying there, but you can't do that every year.
No,
I got to do this real quick before we leave because I said I would. Yeah. My throwback song for this week is "Paint Me a Birmingham" by Tracy Lawrence. This is a shout out for Logan Cantrell. It's his choice this week. I told him, I said, "You got any songs?" And this is right off the top of his head. This was it. So this is something he was no question. This is what he wanted. I didn't know this about it. It was written by Buck Moore and Gary Duffy, and it was concurrently released by American country music artists Ken Mellons and Tracy Lawrence, whose versions entered the country charts within 1 week of each other. I did not know that.
I did not know.
And Tracy Lawrence obviously done a lot better. And but I didn't know that. I think that weird to have two people
I didn't know that at all.
Within 1 week of each other having the same song put out. Yeah. That's unheard. You don't hear about that ever.
I don't think I've heard that. I don't know why this comes to my mind, but the last one I've heard, and it wasn't that close, was like Hinder coming out the Lips of an Angel within maybe like, it might have even been a year, but I know like a few months. Jack Ingram, the country singer, came out with the country version of it.
Oh yeah.
But that's
not even. It's still different genres. Like this is two country music artists doing the same song within 1 week of each other and putting it out. So it's kind of weird. And neither one of them wrote it too. That's the thing. It'd be like different if one wrote it and he's putting it out, and then the other one, got it from him and he put it out. But neither one of them wrote it, but they both put it out within. I just thought that was kind of weird. But.
No, that's strange. I'll just go through these real quick because I know you got to get off here. I want to do our Porch Talk Top 5 New Country. So this week, it's actually cumulative of the last few weeks because right now during the holidays, a lot of artists didn't put out new stuff. So this is new country, but we usually do week to week. So going forward, hopefully get some more artists and stuff pumping out music. But at 5, I got Man I Should Have Been by Dan Lawrence. At 4, I got Who I Want to Be by Chase Wright. 3, it's Boots in a Bar by Jordan Rowe. 2, it's Tamed by Tennessee by Callum Kerr. Hope I'm saying that right. And at number 1, I got 3 Feet of Water by Jagger Whittaker. Just going to say one thing, Jordan Rowe, if you haven't checked him out, I know he's third on this list, but check him out. He's got a great song. It's called Mama Ain't Jesus, that he sung with Lainey Wilson before Lainey really took off. I mean, she was starting to get it going. And the number 1 song, it's not a remake of Brantley Gilbert's 3 Feet in the Water, but it is talking about the battles that one has with everyday life and struggles, and then of course with his spiritual faith and stuff. So just want to close that out there with our country section. We didn't get to dive into it too much. We had a great episode though. Something I do want to say going forward that I do want to do, and I ain't got to talk to you about it yet, but I would like to do something, just throw it out there, that we didn't get to highlight things over the years that are maybe hidden gems. I thought it'd be kind of cool to maybe throw something out there like that, because I have tons that I know will never, ever get talked about. It'd be a kind of cool way to throw them out there. But right now, we got more country stuff and more music stuff we will talk about. We got guests coming on, stuff like that. I know we're kind of throwing it in at the end of an episode, but it just is what it is. Obviously, right now, sports and stuff are going to take precedent because, music doesn't really have a season, but we got a season in basketball and football. So, I'm not going to waste, a whole lot more time, but I'll throw it over to you more if you want to say anything before I close it out.
We got koozies, people.
Oh, yeah.
You got the shorter one, you got the taller one, you got the white on the front. We got both of them have the black stripe on the back. Let us know if you're interested and want some. If we get enough people interested in orders, we'll do an order and take up order some and figure out a price or something on it. And how we don't want to make a bunch of money. We'd love to just get a bunch of these out there and get it spread around. So let us know if you're interested in one.
Heck yeah. And I will say on that kind of the same note, if there's anybody out there, we keep continuing doing these interviews and stuff, the high school kids and coaches. If you want to be a sponsor or anything, just get a hold of us and we'll see if we can work something out. We'll go from there. I know we've mentioned that before, but I'll throw it out there again. Again, that's what we want to thank Jonah for coming on. We want to thank Jory for coming on. And guys, thank you for sticking with us. We've had to battle holidays and sickness and stuff like that, but I think we're getting our feet back under us again, and we got a lot of exciting stuff going forward. So thank you again, guys, and God bless.